What up, YouTube? Webhead Mike here, and a brief history lesson is into the cards for today. Don't worry, it won't take long. It starts with Gary Gygax after leaving TSR, branching off and doing his own things. And of course, TSR, under Lorraine Williams, living up to its nickname, They Sue Regularly, was assailed by litigation. Some of the things it was for video games he was creating, some similarities to Dungeons and Dragons. But later on, there was one element where he tried using Dungeon Master in his terms, and he was sued for that until he eventually relinquished it. So that was a case where someone was stripped of their Dungeon Master title by someone with the surname of Williams. And now the history lesson concludes, and we come back to the modern day where Cynthia Williams is trying to make sure that no one can have that term unless they play their product. Now, this is also because there's been quite a few D&D refugees or 5e refugees in the wake of this OGL nonsense that Wizards of the Coast has done to themselves. Quite the self-inflicted wound, by the way. And people are scrambling to figure, well, where do I go next? What do I do? If I can't do this or don't want to do this, how do I go forward? Am I playing Dungeons and Dragons anymore if I'm not doing this? And I would ask you, what skills are you leaving behind? What story structure or character elements or world building are you leaving behind when you're doing this new game? Exactly, none. The only difference between what you're doing now from then is a sticker label, a brand name, maybe some lore differences, but you are still what you were doing. Much like when I started being a director in Cinematic Unisystem back in 2008 or 9, and then started picking up other game systems, and then Dungeons and Dragons, and then becoming a DM there. These are all titles that I have, and no one can take them away from you except yourself. What, if you call yourself a dungeon master, is someone with the surname Williams going to come and sue you to take it away? No. And that's what I'll call banner theft, because that is someone who thinks they have authority over you trying to take it away from you, which of course they don't. They only have the power that others give to them. Much like how Wizards of the Coast are not stewards of Dungeons and Dragons, they are the current producers of it. The ones who are really in control of Dungeons and Dragons is the players themselves, which is part of the reason they're going over to this electronic model where you on their platform have to abide by the rules they dictate. So that way they can strip you of your title unless you're going to pay $30 a month. Allegedly. We'll see what happens. I personally think it's true because it's right in line with their corporate greed. Call me crazy. But there we are, and now there are some people stating, and I don't know if they're paid by Wizards of the Coast or they're unwilling participants or just myopic midwits, but they're trying to say if you play another game, then you're not doing anything important. Then what you're doing doesn't matter. They're trying to shame you into not boycotting Wizards of the Coast or deciding, hey, I want to find something else to do. And they're trying to shame you by saying, well, you're just cutting goblins in half and not doing anything important. Well, no. You're still making a story, aren't you? Exactly. You are still doing that. You're still constantly trying to improve yourself by being good at language comprehension, mental math, rules lawyering. Everything you did in one system can still be done in another. And Gary Gygax himself also said, you should never play just one game. You should try to play all the games and become a better player and DM. So really, there's nothing stopping you from trying these other systems. There's no shame that you have to feel is tearing you down or anything to that matter, because it's all creativity. You don't need to listen to these banner stealers and think they have any control over you because they say they no longer recognize you as this. Oh, boo-hoo for them. And sure, some of them might also try to pose themselves as sentinels or something, watching out for what's going to happen come around the other corner. And that's what I call language manipulation. And I know a thing or two of this because I've read quite a few dystopian novels like 1984, Brave New World, Fahrenheit 451, Hunger Games. The list goes on and on and on. I personally love those kinds of book series and stories that go into them, because by being aware of this language, you yourself become a watchman. And this is where this comes into play with tabletop role-playing games. You need to be a watchman for who comes at your table, because that's the only audience that really matters to you. Who are you entertaining? Who are you offering escapism to? Who is crafting this story, this narrative with you? You need to make sure that you're not letting some dagger come at you from sights unseen. So be wary of charlatans, corporate allies. Another term might be useful idiots. Just beware of them, because outside of the game, they can't affect you. Outside of the session, outside of the table, they hold no power over you. But the moment you let them at your table, that is when they have some ability to leverage you. Which is why earlier I said safety tools probably shouldn't exist at all in tabletop role-playing games, because it is on you, the DM, the GM, the director, whatever title you want to give to this, Castle Keeper, whatever, that's the one that has to be the arbiter of reality of what's happening there. That's just my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I thank you for listening all this time, and until next time, Webhead Mike, out.